Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dudes, dudettes. Welcome to another show of the Dude Sports Sessions. Very, very, very special guest here with me. Met him up at the NFL Hall of Fame induction. He's cute on the eyes. He's a handsome man. He's like me. He's got a beautiful top of the head. He's writes for the Florida Sun, NSPN, WUFO radio out of Buffalo, and the South Florida Tribune. He sits in the press box for the Jaguars game. Alex Fleming. Good. How you doing, man?
I'm not bad. I just want to let y'all know this was the article that I was telling you about whenever we had that talk about
Here
paper
we go.
chicken.
Here we go.
I didn't want to, let you down. I'm a man of my word.
Yeah. I'm sure you've been waiting to you've had that stashed away now for a couple months. I know it. You've been waiting and waiting. So now you can finally, throw that in the trash, because that's what that take was. We're not paper champions. We are 3-1. Speaking of which, we got a big one tomorrow. We got a big one against the LA Chargers. Browns are getting another road test after being on the road last week at Minnesota. Chargers are just playing out of their mind with already a big win on the season at Kansas City. And quite frankly, it's going to be a 4:05 showdown. It's definitely going to be the day game to watch tomorrow. I think it's going to compete with the Sunday night game of Buffalo, Kansas City. So, Alex, I know you're not a buyer into the Browns Kool-Aid yet, but tomorrow we can admit, and you can agree, that if the Browns pull this one off tomorrow, you might be a little bit more of a believer in what's going on up in Cleveland.
If they pull this off tomorrow,
you mean when?
If I can definitely see the Browns losing this game. So, if they win this game tomorrow, I can definitely see the Browns heading in the right direction. The offense under Stefanski has bloomed. The only thing holding it back is the quarterback. Arguably the best running back duo. You have serviceable wide receivers. Odell hasn't been a diva, and the tight end position hasn't yet been utilized yet. So overall, it's a plus for the Cleveland Browns. But as I told you at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, as I've said years back, and as I said last year against the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football, you're only going to go as far as that bum is going to take you. Baker Mayfield's been a liability on that offense. And now he's using that excuse of a torn labrum as to why he's only throwing 155 yards a game, looking like the white Jameis Winston.
Wow, man. He called him a bum, the white Jameis Winston. I don't even know where to even start with that other than disagree with you. I think under Stefanski has built a team around Baker Mayfield that showed last Sunday, now that they have a formidable defense, that Baker doesn't have to play his best for them to win big games. I think we can all agree in years past, that game last week would have resulted in a last-minute field goal loss for the Cleveland Browns after, Minnesota probably missed the field goal, and then we went off sides or something stupid, gave another shot, and then they make it, in true old Browns fashion. It's a new team. It's a new regime. I think Stefanski and Baker have worked together. One of the strongest second halves of any season any quarterback has had, with the numbers he did, 28 and only 2 interceptions in that stretch, and a win on the road. I don't care what anybody says. Win on the road. Big Ben stinking or not stinking, showing that he's Old Man River. Baker has showed he can do enough to help win not only a couple playoffs games, but maybe get the Browns to the Super Bowl.
Wow. Did you just say Super Bowl and Browns in the same sentence?
All I'm going to say is if Trent Dilfer can do it and Williams can do it or Brad Johnson can do it, Baker Mayfield can do it.
You weren't even born the last time that the Browns went to the Super Bowl. Better yet, how about this?
They never have, though.
Thank you. Before we even mentioned Super Bowl and Browns in the same sentence, how about A, we worry about Cincinnati because they're lurking on your schedule.
I will say that's dangerous.
B, you have a Baltimore problem. I told you that back then. I'm telling you now.
Nope.
You have a Baltimore problem. And As a matter of fact, Lamar Jackson has more passing yards than Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, and Josh Allen currently. Passing yards, not rushing, passing yards. You have a Baltimore problem. And number 3, have you been seeing what Justin Herbert has been doing lately? I mean, have you been picking up his vibe? Have you seen how he's beating these teams?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's called a hot streak. A guy that young, he better start putting together a lot better streak than 4 games for me to start drinking the Kool-Aid like everybody else is. I'm not saying he can't be the dude. I think he's very gifted, but at the end of the day, he is a second-year pro and in what is probably his first actual season, because we can all agree when he got in last year was not supposed to be when he got in last year. And last year was just basically hey, this is preschool before kindergarten. This year's kindergarten.
Preschool before kindergarten. Usually, all good quarterbacks go through lumps. They go through their trials and tribulations. Lamar did it last year. He finally got over the hump, won a playoff game, lost second round to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen made it to the AFC Championship, got roasted by the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, second year as a starter. Tom Brady had to teach him a couple of things, and then he got in and won his championship.
Baker Mayfield's second year as a starter makes it into the playoffs, wins a Super Bowl game. I just want to throw him in. Since we're going to dog on him, I just want to throw him in that same company. Go ahead.
I don't remember A, Cleveland even making the playoffs, or B, Cleveland even being relevant. You do realize that the Cleveland Browns, made the playoffs last year, won 1 game, and couldn't beat Chad Henne.
Just told you though. I'm just saying it's the same situation. What I said, it was Baker's second year as a starter.
Chad Henne.
Yeah, what in the fourth quarter, protecting the lead? I mean, Browns were playing from behind. They didn't start 0-0 with Chad Henne. They didn't start 0-0 with Chad Henne.
Third year as a starter. Not everybody was as fortunate as Baker Mayfield to be selected number 1 for some god-awful reason and have
he's a winner
for 3 years. Lamar Jackson was sitting behind Joe Flacco, turned that team around, got them to the playoffs, and led the league in rushing for 2 years in a row. We are not the same.
Baker didn't turn around the franchise at all. You're right. No, didn't inherit a 1-31 program and turn it into a playoff contender within 3 years and a playoff winner in 3 years. But agree to disagree.
Fair enough. Let's talk about matchups.
Let's talk about matchups tomorrow. You know, my take on this is this game is primed for an offensive shootout. The Browns defense has had not 1 but 2 lights out defensive games. I think they're due to have 1 game where they give up some stinking points and maybe have a couple things go against them, especially against a talented Herbert who's obviously on the middle of a hot streak here. And I also think that the Chargers are due for a little bit of a letdown game themselves. They've been playing very, very solid. Obviously, both teams are 3-1. I just think that Baker's due for a good game. Statistically showing he has never really had a back-to-back bad game. And we can all agree, including myself, that last week was a massive setback in the Baker era, especially for those that have his back in the social media space. But I think this is going to be a shootout. Alex, what do you think?
That's something we actually can agree on. Everybody's thinking that this is going to be a defensive struggle because the Chargers and the Browns both have top 10 ranked defenses. I don't see this being a defensive struggle at all. I see this being not a high-scoring game, but get your popcorn ready. There's going to be some touchdowns. Your secondary is supposed to be your strong point. I'm not quite sure if Newsom's going to play, and Hill has shown that he can be beat. Mike Williams is a top 7 wide receiver. I don't need to mention Keenan Allen. Austin Eckler is running the football, and he's finally healthy. Herbert is finding people in places that you wouldn't expect it. Darnell Parham, Jalen Guyton, Jared Cook. So there's a lot of weapons on this Charger offense that I don't believe Cleveland's going to be ready for. On the flip side, Cleveland has the luxury of not having to rely on Baker Mayfield. due to their tandem of Chubb and Hunt, when you can run the football, it opens up the passing game. And it's going to be essential for Cleveland to run the football against this Charger squad. Because if you can't run the football, they're going to shut down the passing game.
I have a feeling that Baker's going to come out slinging. Anytime he feels like he is slighted or disrespected, it seems like Stefanski harnesses that motivation as like, have at it, boss. And if the Browns can establish that passing game right off the rip, and then that's when you're going to start seeing a massive healthy dose of the number one rushing attack in basically every statistical category in the NFL with Hunt and Chubb, and this new guy out of nowhere, Demetric Felton, a rookie out of UCLA, who's been an absolute lightning rod outside of the backfield in the passing and on kickoff returns and punt returns. But no, on your comment on the Browns defense, I would not say our secondary is our strong suit. I will say it's our most improved. From last year, we had no safety presence at all. But I would say our defense is more of a complementary defense. If Clowney and Garrett make their moves up front, it makes the next layer easier for the linebackers. And then you're getting maybe some more desperation under pressure throws, which is helping out our secondary. But I think if the Browns front seven doesn't get that establish their presence and get pressure on Herbert and give Herbert that time with his big frame looking out over the field. The one thing he does have over Baker Mayfield, which is about 7 inches, because Baker, I'm sorry, man, you're not 6'1". Yeah, it could be a long day for the Browns defense. They got to get pressure on Herbert, but I think we can say that when you have Garrett and Clowney, and then you have Tack McKinley coming in as your third option, that's a tough task for any defense. And we have Malik Jackson just wrecking havoc up the middle now too.
Malik Jackson is well past his prime. I'm surprised you didn't mention J.O.K. because J.O.K. is the one who's actually been making a difference on that defense.
I agree.
David Clowney is what we thought he was. He's a hired mercenary. And other than the Chicago Bear game, Myles Garrett's been, I mean, 4.5 sacks you can't ignore. But Myles Garrett is Myles Garrett. He's a B+, A- defensive lineman.
Man, you need to throw more respect on his name. B+ is an insult, man. He's top 3 defensive end. He's up there with the Bosas. He's up there with
J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
Chandler Jones.
J.J. Watt is
T.J. Watt.
No, TJ. Yeah, I'd put him up there with TJ.
As I mentioned before, B+. That wasn't an insult. But with your secondary having to deal with these charges, I'm wondering, A, you don't have a corner big enough to deal with Mike Williams if Newsom doesn't play. And B, Allen's shaking anybody. If you stick Newsom, well, Denzel Ward is your number one. And Delpit is, never mind.
Ward will be on Williams. That'll be the matchup.
Ward will be on Williams. So you're gonna leave Newsom, a rookie from Northwestern, on Keenan Allen, or better yet, you're gonna put Delpit on Keenan Allen.
They'll have help side.
So you're gonna have to put a safety over the top.
Yeah, you have to pick. I mean, Ward's your one-on-one guy. If Williams is deemed your number one threat, that would be because he can give up the size to Williams. He's done it. That's what makes him a number one. He can play like a big guy. And if you're giving up that much size, I mean, you have to make that matchup change.
Fair enough. So you've already called out what we should expect. We're going to see a mismatch on one side of the secondary when it comes to Cleveland, and you're just going to give the dink and dunk to Herbert, who I believe against the Vegas Raiders completed 18 consecutive passes.
I'm going to use something against you. You just said we have that guy named Jock. Jock's going to be flying around, man. He closes quicker than anybody I've ever seen in a Browns uniform. He might end up being one of the greats. He has that. If he stays healthy, he's just a bat out of hell. To put it. So on your checkdowns, dunks, you have that guy now. You have Jock flying around all over the field, and you do have some nice cover linebackers, which are much improved from years past too. So
you guys couldn't cover a nosebleed a couple of years ago. You guys have improved at the linebacker position.
I can't. I hate to agree with you on anything because most of your takes are just blah, but I'm with you on that one, Alex. All love,
I
man.
mean, Cleveland's been black for the last couple of years. I wasn't too long
Dude,
ago.
I'm wearing a Butch Davis that we sucked in the 90s with this shirt here, and we still sucked up until a couple of years ago. We're living our best life.
I mean, just 4 years ago, the Cleveland Browns made history with the whole 0-16. I mean, we don't need to go back and forth. The numbers were disgusting. And
We don't live the past. We're in the present.
this year, you were a botched punt away from beating the Kansas City Chiefs, but leave it up to Cleveland. Always got to botch up something.
Man, we didn't botch Minnesota last week on the road, and we played terrible.
Justin Jefferson had an excellent game against your secondary, though. 6 receptions, 84 yards, and a touchdown with the gritty.
But we can also say he has a good game against any secondary, so I don't think that's fair.
With that being said, if you could admit that your team had a weakness, where would it be against this Charger squad?
I would say the secondary is going to be the weakness tomorrow. That's why I said that pressure from our defensive line and linebackers. We got to get heat on Herbert. You can't let him stand back there and give him time because he has shown he can make the throws if he's not under pressure. He can put it wherever he wants. It's quite a good talent to have as an NFL quarterback, I will admit. So it's going to be defensive front. That's going to be the biggest thing because I think without Newsome, who we did draft obviously over guys like Jock in the first rounders for that size. That's probably going to be the next man up, but next man up is not Newsome.
I'd like to see the matchup of Jedrick Wills versus Bosa. I don't think Jedrick is ready for a guy as talented as Bosa. Jedrick Wills, like Jedrick Wills, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide, not knocking Jedrick Wills. However, Bosa is a problem.
Yep. And here's the other thing to keep an eye on that matchup to enhance it is Jedrick Wills exited the game mid-third last week with an ankle and did not return, but is practiced all week, but he did not finish the game last week. So you have to wonder if he's going to be 100%. So it's going to be very critical to and something we're going to keep track of early in that game is see if fullback Andy Janovich is going to be in the game for the Browns, and if they put him on that left side behind Wills to kind of help chip Bosa and double team him, which is going to take a weapon though off the field for the Browns if they have to give up somebody route runner to help blocking. So that might give Baker one less option to look, and that's another interesting matchup. I say we got two good ones between the both of us, man. That's why we do this, man. We got big brains with big hearts.
I do believe that Stefanski is going to throw a 3-back system in to have a fullback and both of his running backs on the field because he's not implementing the tight end spot that much anyway. Austin Hooper has not reached fantasy value so far this year, and I don't need to mention David Njoku. He's the 4th, 5th, 6th option on this team. What I will recognize, though, is that Landry has been the security blanket, but OBJ is being utilized better. Talk about the connection between OBJ and Baker, because I think they're finally starting to get on the same page.
I think OBJ's bought in. I think OBJ looked this offseason and was like, wow, we're going to be really stacked. He also realized I'm out of guaranteed money on my contract. And also, because he's only a $2 million cap hit after this year or 3. It's very, very minimal if they want to offload that contract. But I think he also realized for the first time in his career, he's on a bona fide playoff contender that's capable of surprising some teams and making the run. They have the talent there. And as you said, I will agree that it goes as far as Baker's arm goes. But if Baker, and he's shown he's had some streaks. So if he can put together a couple big streaks at the right times, I mean, it could be a big year. And I think that's why OBJ is kind of like, I'm all in. Let's go.
As far as the Chargers are concerned, I love the fact that Austin Eckler is running happy and running angry. He's paying attention to his fantasy owners, and he has not let them down. He was worth 28.5 points in fantasy. Now, that may not sound much, but if you think in fantasy purposes, that's not easy to do.
I got him. He's mine. I know. Hey, don't get me wrong. if it's a shootout and Eckler has 5 touchdowns tomorrow, not going to be angry if the Browns still get that win, which they will.
So, what's your estimate on the Browns versus Chargers? Because I had the Chargers winning this game by 7 points, by a complete pure touchdown.
Okay.
Just for the fact that the Chargers are at home at SoFi. They're coming off that big win, beating an undefeated team in the Vegas Raiders, and no one has an answer for Herbert. That includes the Dallas Cowboys. They don't want to see Herbert again either.
No, they escaped barely. That is Herbert is one probably minute away on the scoreboard from being 4-0. So what's your final score prediction? You say Chargers by 7. What's the score?
34-27 Chargers.
Okay. LAC. Oh, I'm writing this down because we're definitely going to circle back on this. All right. I am going to go. I am a Browns fan. I am scared about tomorrow. It has a big fat L written all over it. But I do think that Baker redeems himself and makes it rain and has himself a very healthy game. 2 touchdowns, 250 yards plus, no turnovers. I think that's a great game for Baker Mayfield with that running attack. I'm going to go with the Browns winning 31-26.
26, odd number.
It's a very odd number. I'm going to do 27. The only reason I did 26 is because I didn't want to have the same number as you. So I'm going to say 31-27 Browns win. So we're both in that 60 point ball game.
That 55-60 point, yes. I will, since we're making predictions, I'm not a psychic, but I predict that there will be one fumble from Baker Mayfield, and there will be an interception off of Baker Mayfield. So okay. 1 fumble, 1 interception. Quote me.
Baker, I'm going to do 2 TOs. I'm going to even round it up to that there for you. Here's mine. Herbert throws 2 interceptions tomorrow. Under pressure. Browns are going to bring the heat. They're going to put that young man under pressure. He's going to throw up a couple. And you got Denzel Ward. You got Johnson, and you got Greedy, who last week had 2 interceptions in that game last week against Minnesota. Not his first and second of the season, and maybe actually his career because he sat out all last year. But 2 interceptions by Herbert is my pick.
Player to watch for the Chargers. It's easy to go Mike Williams. I'm going to say Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen has a bust-out game.
Okay. Allen breakout. I am going to go OBJ. 100+ receiving yards tomorrow. He's due to put up 100. He's due. Baker's going to be letting it fly. They're going to give him the green light. He wants to feed OBJ because he's really upset with himself. He missed on that wide open touchdown last week. Baker, normally in that fashion, tries to pay it back to his boys. That's why he's loved in the locker room, and he's going to let it rain to OBJ. And OBJ has shown he is back. He's making dudes look like fools.
Do you think he missed OBJ that wide open because he was thinking of his next commercial?
Which one? Hulu or Progressive?
I don't know. I think he just now finally caught up to wins versus commercials. Good for him.
Hey, you know what? But when you start out and you capitalize, he had something to catch up to. But now he's just going to surpass it, which is going to be more impressive. If Baker has more wins and he's got commercials, I think we can all agree that's the best Browns quarterback we've had in a long time.
I can't remember a good Browns quarterback.
Me neither. Bernie.
Except for Bernie?
Yeah, Bernie. I remember Bernie. Bernie was like at that cusp of when I was like really starting to get into football. So, but Bernie was playing on a very good team too, just like Baker. But, hey, Bernie also still holds the record for most passing yards in a playoff game.
True.